The Colorado Attorney General's office says a judge tossed out the sentencing for Peter Cichuniec. You might know that name, one of the paramedics convicted in Elijah McClain's death by injecting him with an overdose of ketamine while he was walking and doing nothing wrong. Well, the judge converted the 5-year sentence to 4 years of probation. And we want to talk a little bit more specifically about legally how this is allowed to happen. 9 News legal analyst Scott Robinson joining me live now to talk about the decision. Scott, thanks for making the time. I think the first question on people's minds is, did you expect this to happen?
It might not meet public expectations, but it actually comes as no surprise to me. The same statute that requires a 5-year minimum mandatory sentence for second-degree assault has a bit of an escape clause for the court. At any time after 120 days, the court can reconsider the sentence, including down to probation, if he or she determines that it is an unusual case with exceptional and unusual circumstances, unusual and extenuating circumstances. And if there's one thing the McClain case is, it's unusual.
You know, I spoke to Shanine, Elijah's mom, earlier today, and she said she was expecting this. She calls it, the kind of turnaround here on sentencing, lenient. Do you look at it as that way, especially when you look at this like mandatory structure that is put in place for sentencing, then a judge can just go ahead and reverse it? Is that usual? Like, is that something that usually happens?
The same statute that creates the mandatory 5-year sentence also gives this kind of reconsideration to individuals sentenced under that statute. If you were convicted of, for example, of a felony that was not listed in the violent crime statute, you would be eligible for reconsideration under a separate rule, a rule of criminal procedure. But if you're sentenced under the mandatory sentences for violent crimes, this is the only way you can get your sentence reconsidered. And to be candid, this is probably the first time a paramedic has been convicted in a criminal case for care, if you call it that, provided to a citizen. So it is an unusual case. It's up to the court to decide whether there are extenuating circumstances and whether it's an exceptional case. But by and large, this kind of reconsideration under the mandatory crime statute is not statistically common. But it does happen, and it's built into the very statute that Cichuniec was sentenced under.
Mark Warner to pull back his sentence as well. I believe he got 14 months of the work release program. Because there's a change here, is there any way that that happens with Rodema as well?
Each defendant had his own level of culpability, and it depends on how the court assesses a county jail sentence with work release, as opposed to spending, in this case, better part of 4+ months in the Department of Corrections. That's a really difficult balance to make. And the fact that the 5-year DOC sentence was reconsidered for Cichuniec does not even in the slightest guarantee a similar reduction for the other paramedic, Cooper.
Mm-hmm. Well, Scott Robinson, thank you for taking the time to discuss this, because this weighs heavy on a lot of folks in the community who feel like the one of the only people, who were sentenced for Elijah McClain's death that actually got significant jail time. Now that sentence completely being pulled back to probation. It's weighing heavy for a lot of folks today. So thank you for taking the time to break it down for us.
I certainly understand that very well.
Yeah. Thank you, Scott.